All right, let's bring in Matt Schlapp, former White House political director, chairman of the American Conservative Union, and Leslie Marshall, progressive radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Good morning to both of you.
Great to be with you, Ed.
Matt, it sounds like your party is growing more confident, if you listen to Lindsey Graham and others, that you may have the votes now to block witnesses. Is this trial about to wrap up?
I think there's a decent chance that's the case, Ed. You know, with the Republicans that people are worried about potentially voting for more witnesses, there's the same Republicans we always worry about because they're not exactly people who have strong opinions about everything. They kind of go with the flow. So when you're dealing with Mitt Romney, it's kind of like pinning Jell-O to the wall. It's going to be a hard thing to do. So we're going to have to see this play out and see where they end up. I think the best thing for the Republicans is that the Democrats have failed to make a compelling case. And while impeachment has gone on, Trump's numbers have never been so high, both in the Gallup and in the Real Clear Politics average. So I think a lot of Republicans are feeling more confident about just saying what this truly is, which is a distraction from getting the real things done.
Go with the flow sounds like a diplomatic way of putting it for someone from the American Conservative Union.
Okay,
Leslie?
Fair enough.
Leslie, your party seemed very confident a couple of days ago when the Bolton story first emerged. We heard bombshell, as we've heard so many times before. Has this fizzled out?
I don't think it's fizzled out, and although I have to say, Matt, I agreed with a few things you were saying, but then it just went back on track that we would disagree. It's normal.
Sorry about that.
Look, the bottom line here is, and I think the reason the president's doing well, and quite frankly, there are Democratic candidates out there doing well in the polling, is the American voters don't care about this. The country is very split on this, but we do see an overwhelming majority of Americans who do want witnesses, and Republicans can't ignore that. Neither can Democrats, by the way. And it actually could behoove Republicans to have witnesses because you just heard Lindsey Graham talking about Joe and Hunter Biden, Joe and Hunter Biden. And Republicans could even call Joe and Hunter Biden as witnesses.
Can I agree with you and say I agree with you completely? I think it's a little bit of a mistake for Republicans to act like more witnesses are bad for them. If there's no case here, it really doesn't matter how many witnesses they have.
Real quick, Leslie.
Look, Matt, if Bolton, period, is going to exonerate the president, and I'm the president, I'd say bring it on, put him out there,
I agree.
And then it would be a done deal.
Meanwhile, the focus should be shifting to the Democrats getting ready for the caucuses Monday night in Iowa. But guess who's going tonight? The president. Here's his campaign manager on Iowa. Oh, it's a quote. I'm sorry. Our caucus day operation is just a preview of what is to come. This will be the strongest, best funded, most organized presidential campaign in history. We're putting the Democrats on notice. Good luck trying to keep up with this formidable re-election machine. Leslie, we've seen video already of people waiting out in 20-degree weather for the president. We see this wherever he goes. His base is fired up.
Oh, so is Bernie Sanders and some of the other Democrats out there waiting in that long lines in that way. If you want to talk about money, if you take the money of all the Democratic candidates together, it's 3 times what President Trump has now, and hopefully the Democratic nominee would have that. But it takes more than money. Honestly, I think this is a smart strategy from Trump and his campaign. And the reason I say that is the president knows that one of those people in Iowa is going to be his opponent. He wants to divert energy and distract. But in addition to that, Ed, there are a lot of people, even on the Democratic side and certainly independent voters, who are undecided about who they want as their nominee among the Democrats. And maybe he's hoping to appeal to some of those, if not even a handful.
Matt, I want you to react as well to Joe Biden. He was at an event in Iowa earlier this week, and he brought up the issue of age. Watch.
But for me, it has to be demonstrated that whomever I pick is 2 things. One, is capable of immediately being president, because I'm an old guy, okay? No, but I'm serious. Look, thank God, I'm in great health. I work out. No, I'm serious. I work out every morning. I'm in good shape, knock on wood, as my mother would say.
Knock on wood, he says. A good idea for Joe Biden to bring up age and talk about it needing a young vice president?
That was Joe Biden's way. The Joe Biden campaign hasn't been the most well-disciplined on message, but I do think that's Joe Biden's way of saying, sorry, Mayor Pete, being mayor of South Bend and being a loser in all these political contests really doesn't qualify you. Sorry, Bernie Sanders, you might be actually leading me in most of these polls, but if I best you in this competition, you're older than me, so you're not going to get picked. This was a little bit of this is like a Julian Castro, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris kind of like, hey guys, you're in the mix strong.
Leslie.
So I thought it was interesting.
Leslie, I'm an old guy is not something you want to put on a bumper sticker.
Actually, I think, like no malarkey, people said, but it increased his support, not just in the polls, but with the check writing. Look, Joe Biden was being Joe, and he's being honest. There's an elephant in the room. You can do one or two things in politics. You can ignore it or talk about it. I think he was doing a little self-deprecation there, like, look, I'm an old guy. And I think he was being honest. I've said before, I think he is looking at one term, and who he selects as vice president is very important.
He's not looking. He's not looking at one term. One term is what the insurance tables tell you he'll have. This is kind of absurd. Look, for somebody almost 80 years old to talk about whether or not he's going to have 4 or 8 years as president, I don't know.
To be clear, we all wish him a very long, happy life.
Of course.
Absolutely.
The president
just
doesn't
not
want him,
as our president.
although the president doesn't want him to become president. Leslie, Matt, we appreciate you both coming in.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.